Welcome to this month's theme episode of the Parable Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Zapchenk, and these episodes give us a chance to focus in on a theme and then extend that as an opportunity to see how that can play out into our life and all the relationships that surround us. It's important for me that we dive into our story often to not only see where God has brought us, but also to continue learning and growing in empathy. Why do we do the things that we do? And so this episode today, we're going to talk about listening. This winter, I had the pleasure of chaperoning 45 plus high schoolers, not once, but on 4 different occasions. And no, I was not the only adult there. Our daughter Edie is a freshman at Huntley High School. And even before she got to high school, she joined their first ever season of show choir. Now, if you don't know, I was a musical theater kid and was on our speech team where I spent many early Saturday morning hours on a very unique looking pant or skirt, like office suit, driving to competitions at local high schools. So to my dismay, we did not have a show choir, but I do remember a time where my mom, I think it was about in grade school, took me to see Neenah High School. Their show choir was called Vintage, which is also her alma mater. And it must have impacted me a bit because I loved it so much. And if you are not familiar with show choir, it is a 20-minute production of a show with singing, choreographed dancing, there's costume changes, and a live band. Now, some of the choirs we saw have been around for 50 plus years, like Vintage, but it is definitely a culture. And so when Edie said she was going to try out, I tried to play it real cool because I was just ready to live vicariously through this experience that I never got to experience. And when they asked if parents were able to chaperone, I jumped at the chance. And also, once your child is older, there are not many times where you really get to see them in a school setting like when they were in grade school. So while I was there to also get free admission to these shows and to help out, it made me feel right back in the theater days. But while I was there during these very long bus rides and letting go of a full Saturday, there were some things that I really learned about this community of kids, about myself, and I wanted to share that with you today. First, it was really fun to be with my daughter, just to see her on stage and off of stage, just in a different kind of setting. She's athletic, she's silly, and she's goofy, but you just never get to see them like in their setting. And the cool thing was we ended up watching Vintage together like 20 plus years later. How beautiful, right? They were fantastic. Secondly, the students that were there, and this ranged from freshmen to seniors, and that was all of the choir members, their tech team, and the band. They are amazing humans, and I loved how they connected with each other, how they encouraged those who were not even the best dancers. I would just see kids, even when I was picking up Edie from after practice, like they'd be like, "Hey, you did such a great job today." There was one time that I saw them do this circle up, and it was right before they went on stage, and they all just like affirmed each other and told each other how great they were and what they appreciated about each other. There was even a couple medical situations, nothing too crazy, but even in those moments, everybody just rallied around them, and they were just such good friends. Also, the talent, I just can't believe it. The talent and the drive that they had is remarkable. These kids, they found out they were getting into show choir the end of last school year. And then they did a camp all in July. And then once school started, twice a week, 3 hours each time, they would be practicing. And then they just started their season in January. And so I was just so amazed at the effort. I mean, the kids have a lot on their plate, plus some other kids were in different athletics or different activities or clubs. It was remarkable. Also, I realized that they are just making an impact. Each show that performs, they kind of have this theme, and sometimes it's just about joy. One team, I remember, it was like the word gold, and it's very fun and joyful. Our theme was about mental health, which does sound like a little bit of a downer. It kind of followed along the life of Vincent van Gogh, but ultimately the message was so beautiful and just encouraging people to know that you are loved, you are special, you are seen. And out of all of the things, I know that this was my child's choir. I just felt it was a really special way to remind people in the audience of something bigger than themselves, that they are loved. It reminded me that the arts really do provide some great life skills. I know that's not everybody's forte, but if you ever have the opportunity, I know this is true for my own life, it gives you confidence and a willingness to take a chance, maybe do a podcast, speak in front of people, and just also hear criticism and feedback and understand that in a more positive setting. And then finally, they just wanted to be listened to. I mean, we were there for pretty much all day of Saturday. And I enjoy hearing like their gossip about who's with who, what have you. But really, it came down to like, what are the things that are going on in their life? What are the challenges that they are facing? What's next for them? And I just like sit on the ground and we'd listen and we just be there just to hear what they're saying. And I kind of wondered to myself, I'm like, has anyone ever asked you these questions? Because some were just so willing. There was one specific time when we were driving home. It was a 3.5 hour drive. And for 2 hours, this 16-year-old, he just poured out his heart. And he told me, he's just like, I don't think I've ever even told my therapist this much. And I was just able to encourage and listen to him as he shared. And it was just a really special time. And I'm grateful to have this experience of chaperoning. It was just beyond just watching kids. It was really being present and enjoying this whole experience with them. Now we know that God listens to us, and maybe it doesn't feel like it because we are overwhelmed or we're anxious, or we just feel lost at certain seasons of our life. But the Bible says this in 1 Peter 3:12. It says, "For the Lord watches over the righteous, and his ears are attuned to their prayers." Psalm 18:6 says, "In my time of need, I called to the Eternal. I begged my true God for help, and he heard my voice echo up to his temple, and my cry came to his ears." And then finally, we know that Jesus, he was a good listener. He didn't ever turn people away, even when they accused him or they just didn't understand what he was saying. He loved well by listening to all people. I've really fallen in love with this age group, and I think it's because they can have those big conversations, like I mentioned on the bus ride home, because they're just trying to figure out life and they want an encouraging ear. And yeah, there's that relationship drama too, where you feel like this is the most important thing in life. And you may wonder at times, when I'm having conversations, if you're a chaperone or if you're at work or you're talking with your family members, is God really using me where I'm at in my life? And just like our own parable stories, when we look a little deeper, the answer is yes. I know that my gifting lies in listening, encouraging, and maybe that's where some of you have your gifting, but I feel like that's something that we can all grow in to be better people who love each other and love God's kingdom. And so the times that we listen, it matters. It allows us to have others feel seen and provide a space that they might not have had otherwise. I believe life change can happen just through listening. So by the time the last competition rolled around, I knew I wanted to share some words of encouragement mixed in with some of the lyrics of their songs. And after their last performance, they had group shots, and I had to share this with them. And here is what I shared. Every time I sat in the audience, I was mesmerized by the musicality of every note. Your teamwork, effort, every dance move, and your commitment of so many countless hours. It was pure joy to watch everything to come together. Even though the end is near on this inaugural season, don't give up on those remarkable gifts that each of you have. I'm so proud of each one of you, not just for your talents, but because of the amazing humans that you are. The way you cheered each other on, how you were supportive friends, the laughter through crazy long bus rides, and extending kindness even when no one was looking. Most importantly, I hope you know the impact that you made each time you took the stage. You don't know who was in the audience that day or even standing next to you that needed to be reminded of the hope in your words to not give up. and that you are loved. It made a difference. Continue to take this whole experience with you and know that you are more than enough just as you are right in this moment. And whenever you feel like the world is losing its mind, let's keep creating more moments like this one. Signed, a parent who lives vicariously through you, Mrs. Edie's mom. That was written out of a space just because I listened to them. I put everything that they told me right back into those words, and I wanted to encourage them in whatever is up ahead. A few weeks after the season ended, we hosted the cast party at our house with 45 kids all around, and we spent the night in conversation, refilling bowls of chips and listening to them share. And 2 hours after the party ended, we finally let them go. And my heart was full that evening, and I know Edie had a fun time too. I hope you attune your ear this week, whether it is better to hear his voice or those right around you. It's another way that we can grow in empathy and our love for our brothers and sisters. Hey, if this theme of listening made an impact on you and you wish you wanted some basic tips on how to enhance your conversations and really listen well, I do have the perfect thing for you. I created this infographic, if you will. It's 10 simple tips to enhance your first-time conversations. Sometimes when we have those conversations with people we've just met, we're just like, what do I even say? Well, this is something you can put on your phone and you can prepare yourself or just like file in your memory for later. So there is a link in the show notes, or you can check out my social media to grab your list today. And here are 2 reflection questions from this thought process of listening. Number 1, who is someone that listened to you when you needed it the most? And thank God for them today. Number 2, who is someone you know that maybe needs a listening ear? This is not your opportunity to fix them, but just to help them know that they are heard and they matter. This episode was edited by my husband, Eric Zapchenk, and we hope that you are encouraged to think about your own parable story today. To connect with me, simply visit DanielleZapchenk.com for details. Remember, your parable showcases how God always listens to your heart. We'll see you back again next week on the Parable Podcast.